This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we're dealing with the Miele dishwasher that is overfilling. So the water valve is stuck open, and here's a new water valve we're going to put on. Here's the part number. And this one only cost about $40. You can see the intake drain light is blinking, and every time we start it we can hear it just constantly draining. So that tells us that the drip pan underneath is full of water, and this is due to the intake valve not closing all the way, so it's staying a little bit open, and even when the dishwasher's turned off, water's building up inside and then it leaks into the drip pan. So to cure it, we have to put in a new fill valve. Here's what they look like. These are just, again, about $40. You can get them on Amazon, kind of a generic type of fill valve. We also need a little brass elbow that fits in there. That helps it connect to the water supply from the house. But yeah, these fill valves, the Miele ones, just kind of stick after a while. So first thing, we'll unplug it. Make sure we got the power off, and we want to turn the water supply off too. So that'll be found underneath the sink. Go lefty-loosey. Sometimes you just turn it 90 degrees to turn them off, and sometimes you have to spin the knob maybe 4 or 5 times. Make sure it's fully closed. So I used a wrench to loosen up this water hose. Now I'm just using finger strength to spin it off. And this is what the Miele intake valve looks like. If you buy one from Miele, to replace it, they come for about anywhere between $160 and $240. I'm just pulling this out a little bit so I can get it easier time to work with it. And I'm going to try to shake all the water out of this hose into a little bowl, just so there's less of a mess when we start digging into it. So make sure it's unplugged. You can use a standard head screwdriver to pry the case open. Sometimes there's a Phillips head screw holding the case together that you have to remove depending on the model. This one just pries off. And here's our intake valve. And it has a little outer tube that I want to keep away while I do the procedure. So I'm going to use a pair of vice grips to kind of hold that outer tube back. I want to expose about a foot worth of tube. I use a standard head screwdriver to just push the power wires to the intake valve up a little bit so I can cut them with my diagonal pliers, or you could use a pair of scissors. Again, make sure the power is off. And the next thing I want to do is try to remove the hose from the old fill valve. So I'm going to use some pliers to press in on the spring clamp and pull that back out of the way. And then I'll pull off the old one. I'm going to be cutting this blue tube. I'm going to cut it about maybe 8 inches back. And I'm using diagonal pliers again. You could use a razor blade to cut it. And I put some Teflon tape on the little brass elbow and threaded that into the fill valve. Just finger tension, but then use a wrench. I usually use like a crescent wrench to turn it a few more turns to get it super tight. And I'm just going to put the valve on to the tube, and then I'm going to use the pliers to get the spring hose clamp back on so everything's tight. And then we have to just take the power cord and separate it, strip back about a 1/4 inch of the insulation to expose the wire. We twist the wire. We put on spade connectors. You can get those like at a electronics store or even our auto parts store. And then you crimp them on, and those will be the power supply to the valve, and they just go right on to the valve. And you're all set. So thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe when you get a chance.